Who is the real troubler? Now, you know this. How many kingdoms are there? There's two. There's God's kingdom and Satan's kingdom. There's the kingdom of light and the kingdom of darkness. There's the kingdom of this world. There's the kingdom of heaven. So when you and I come into the world, we're on Satan's team, and we need to be transferred over to the Broncos. The kingdom of heaven. And you do that when you trust Jesus. But when you make this transfer, now the question is, I'm assuming you've trusted Jesus. I'm assuming you're a follower of God. The question is this: will you trouble God's kingdom or will you trouble Satan's kingdom? Now, my grandma used to say, when she would send me off to school, she would say, now, Mark, don't be a troublemaker today. And, Dennis the Menace comes to mind. Or Eddie Haskell. You remember him? Don't be a troublemaker like Eddie Haskell. So I would go off to school, and that was kind of resonating in my mind. But what I want you to see here is, ultimately, if you're a follower of Jesus, you've got to make up your mind. Are you going to trouble God's kingdom, God's people, or are you going to trouble Satan and his people? I want to give you a couple examples of this, some modern day examples. Jacob here, he's 19 years old. He's a police officer. January 2nd, he posted something so heinous. January 2nd, he posted, marriage refers to Christ in the church. If you've read through the New Testament, you know in Ephesians chapter 5, it says, husbands, love your wives. How many of you think that's a good thing or a bad thing? Good thing? Good thing? Wives, follow the lead of your husbands. And then he says, this is a mystery, and he's talking about really Christ in the church, how the church is supposed to follow Christ, and how Christ leads us, protects us, blesses us. And so it's bigger than just, in other words, marriage that you and I experience here on earth is a picture of something much bigger. And so he makes reference to this in this post, and then he says, marriage refers to Christ in the church. That's why there is no such thing as homosexual marriage. Next day, he was called in by a supervisor. He eventually stands in front of the captain, who says to him, hey, you can't talk about biblical marriage. That's equivalent to a racial slur. Now, the civil rights movement is important. Why? Because all of us, whatever our skin tone, whatever our eye color, whatever, you are an image bearer of God. The Jim Crow laws that were facilitated from the time of the Civil War, those were evil. And what's sad is in 1980, some people said, you know what, we're gonna get people to embrace a different sexuality by calling it a civil rights issue. And this is exactly what's happening right here. This is a racial slur. No, it's not. You are a troubler. Okay, but for what kingdom? Is he troubling the kingdom of heaven? Or is he troubling the kingdom of this world? There's another friend, and I've shared clips from him. John, he's a pastor, and a youth pastor actually, and so he often goes to school boards and gives presentations. And I just love his shirt, man. His shirt says it all. God is greater than... I don't know about you. You read the Bible, you see that over and over. It's God who raises up nations and removes nations. It's God who sets the boundaries of nations according to Acts chapter 17 and how long they exist and what they accomplish. And he judges nations. God is greater than nations. So imagine this. This guy walks into a school board meeting wearing a shirt that says, God is greater than you. Isn't that what he's saying? Yeah, that's what he's saying. You don't set the bar of morality. God sets the bar of morality. We're not talking about how many kids per classroom, whether it should be 20 or 25. We're not talking about, do we do lunch at 11:30 or 1:30, or do we start school at 8 o'clock or 8:15? That's not what we're talking about. There's all kinds of room for negotiation and thinking and and acquiescing, finding unity in that. But when it comes to moral issues, when it comes to God, when it comes to the subject of sin, God sets the bar there. We don't set the bar. Why? Because God is over government. Ahab thought he was over God. Pharaoh thinks he's over God. So John comes into this school board meeting. Now this is prophet-like speaking. It's going to be uncomfortable for some of us, but understand he's speaking like an Old Testament prophet. Listen to what he says.
I want to define something for you tonight. Definition for pervert. It means to lead someone away from what is considered right, natural, or acceptable. This book has been permitted in 6 schools in the Wake County public school system. Doesn't it make you cringe? You don't like it. You don't want to hear it aloud. You don't want anyone to read it. The question today is, who is the pervert that's allowing this to be purchased and delivered to our libraries? Come out from wherever you are.
Holy smokes! Let me ask you a question. What kingdom is he troubling? God's kingdom or Satan's? Satan's kingdom. So can you imagine a school board? Oh no, John's here again. That troubler in our school district. That's what they said. And all he is a voice for God.